There can be so much seeking, and the seeking can carry us in all kinds of directions. The directions that feel like there's a resonance, there's an aliveness. We're looking for the true essence nature. We're looking to know the truth of who we are. We spend the whole life looking, but most often looking in the wrong places, because we're looking for an experience that pleases the me. And an experience that pleases the me will come to a point where it disappoints the me. And the me will then search for the next experience that pleases the me. And then there will be a sense of what disappoints the me, not wanting what disappoints and wanting only what pleases. But what we're truly looking for is the revelation of the heart, the remembrance of what is constant, the remembrance of what does not leave. But in order to remember what does not leave, we are invited to also not leave, to not leave the truth of the heart, the longing of the heart, the pull of the heart, to not leave the sincerity, to not leave the sincerity, to not be half-hearted, to not be scarce in our devotion to knowing our true nature, to not be scarce in devotion to the divine, to not be scarce and skimpy and held back in our longing for this truth. Because through all of the ways and the means of the play of life, we're being invited to give all that we are to this truth. It's about gesture. It's not about ideas. It's not about measure. It's about gesture. It's about a prostration. And the prostration is a heart that is wholeheartedly pointing towards what is longed for. Because only this will bear fruit. Only this will bear fruit. The kingdom of heaven is right here. The glory of God is right here. It's not hiding. It's absolutely here, radiantly shining. It's about where are you looking? Where are you focused? What is the frequency of your heart? And it's about aligning with the frequency of your longing. And this brings an attunement to be able to see and receive the revelation of your own heart, to receive the revelation of what is longed for. And the revelation is that there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with us. So much that creates the momentum of our seeking is trying to get away from the idea that we feel like we're lacking, that there is something wrong. So much of our seeking is trying to find ways of being seen and validated in the external, trying to hide from the fact that we feel a deep sense of lack, unworthiness, unlovableness, something wrong with me, something's wrong with my life, right? And we're trying to find an answer. We're trying to find an answer. And often in the young life, we were turned away from, let's say through religion or spirituality, we were turned away from God. We were turned away from these ideas because we felt like there was punishment and a confirming that there was something wrong with us. And so we seek in other ways, in other directions. And so many of us have been led to the more Eastern traditions to try to find, can I find that I am good here? Can I find the truth here? Can I find my goodness here? Can I find something that resonates, that makes me feel good? because the heart is longing for spirit. It's longing to know the essence nature. It's longing to know a frequency of recognition that feels free and open and true. So we're innocently searching, we're innocently following these leads, these threads, to try to find what will bring me a sense of feeling good about myself. Where will I feel good? Will I feel good if I'm in devotion? Will I feel good if I follow this technique? Will I feel good? Will I feel whole? But so often we feel a certain sense of that, flavors of that, fragrances of that, but there's a deep sense of something missing. And so life brings in what is needed within the whole play of the illumined field and the wisdom light of consciousness. Life brings in what is needed to humble us, to bring us out of the ideas of seeking for something, for someone, for things, for something that will make me feel whole. We're being humbled. We're being humbled in order to see clearly. And the humbling, even though it feels uncomfortable at times, it is the movement of love. It is the movement of love that is so extraordinary and so profound, so complete, so perfect, that sometimes the power of the love can feel almost too much for our deep held sense of unworthiness and lack, that we can't almost turn towards the light because we have these deep held fear frequencies of lack or not enough. But what the light, what love is inviting through this humbling is the incredible revelation that the invitation to love, the invitation to the glory, the invitation to God is an unconditional one. It's an invitation that says, come as you are, show up as you are. What is humbling to the greatest degree, what brings us to our knees, is not the pain or the challenge or the discomfort. What brings us to our knees is the incredible immediacy of absolute forgiveness and the power of the love of God. That's what brings us to our knees, is a love that is redemptive, a love that is merciful, and a love that is all-inclusive and all-encompassing. What brings us to our knees is the revelation that we are loved, that we are love, and that love has never, ever been absent. What brings us to our knees in utter humility is the recognition that there's nothing wrong with us, and yet we have been in a great misunderstanding, and the misunderstanding and the only problem of a human life is the belief in division from the divine. The only problem of a human life is belief in division from the divine, a belief in lack, a belief in scarcity, a belief in not enough, a belief in not lovable, a belief in something wrong with me, or something wrong with my life, or I have been wronged. The only thing that keeps us divided is the belief in wrong. And the glory that is so incredibly humbling is that we, in the moment of revelation of the heart, in the stillness, in the silence of being, the recognition of simply being brings us to a wide open, clear seeing in the knowing of the being that on a certain level we are immediately forgiven for the misunderstanding, that the love that is here is so all-encompassing and powerful that we remember our belonging. We remember the glory of what we belong to. And this is the revelation of the heart. This is the revelation that stuns us, astonishes us, is that we have not ever done anything wrong, and there is nothing wrong with us. And we don't need to rest in any kind of guilt or shame that we forgot. What did we forget? We forgot that we are a child of God, that we are an instrument of God, that we are an instrument, a child of the divine, that we are absolutely made in the perfect image of the divine pattern. And the only thing that creates discordance in that divine pattern is focusing the attention upon the mind and the belief of division, the belief in limitation. When we focus and we identify with limitation, we're moving in patterns of limitation and discordance. We're moving in a field of belief. And the field of belief is not a field of truth. The field of truth is a field of love. It's a field of grace. It's a field of blessing. It's a field of mercy. It's a field of all-encompassing glory. And this is what we belong to. And the way for this remembrance is to rest in the presence of being in the heart that knows. This is the way. The way is to rest in the presence, to rest in the presence of being, the deep and simple presence of being is the presence of pure consciousness. It's the presence of the light. It's the presence of the knowing. And it's through the knowing that we enter the kingdom, the reality, the great glorious realm of that which is pure and untainted. And we enter the remembrance of the essence nature. We enter the remembrance, the restoration of the heart that knows. The heart knows that it belongs to the one heart. The heart knows that it belongs to the one light. The heart knows that the one heart is the heart of God, the divine heart. In a way, the true spiritual heart opens in the presence of the divine, of the light, of the remembrance. And so to be wholehearted, to be here wholeheartedly, is to be here with your heart absolutely soaking and drenched in the presence of being, to be here absolutely soaking in the great longing to remember, the absolute belonging, the belonging to the one divine light, the belonging to the great glory, to the belonging to the truth, the one, the all that is, to remember the truth of who you are is to remember that you are a child of God, that you belong to God. And in this remembrance, there's a clear connection to God, to the unmanifest, uncreated, eternal, infinite field. There's a remembrance of the joy, the delight, the awe, and the wonder. It's a shift from the frequency of limitation and separation and fear to the frequency of love and openness and pure consciousness. To rest in the presence of pure consciousness is to rest in the knowing of the heart. Can be so easy to speak and complain about what is not happening in this unfolding. But what is not happening is only a measure of your own sincerity. It's only a measure of your own sincerity. No one can give this to you. No one can do this for you. You can only give yourself to yourself by giving to yourself. And to give to yourself is to recognize how there can be such a habit to operate in lack, deficiency, and scarcity, to be holding back. And whether that's holding back of yourself, your presence, whether it's a holding back of your resources, your offerings, your willingness to share, if it's a holding back of your love, a holding back of your sincerity, whatever it is, that whole complex of scarcity is all a reflection of a heart that believes that lack is possible, that division, that limitation is possible. Because as we enter the heart of God and the remembrance of the divine, we enter a flow. We enter a flow of extraordinary abundance. We enter a flow of abundance that the me and the mind may not be used to. We enter a flow that we could call a prosperous flow. We enter a flow where we absolutely can flow in prosperity and plenitude and wholeness on every level of our being. But we're being invited to explore, where are we holding back? Where are we scarce? Where are we withholding? Where are we believing that there's not enough? And how does that affect the way that we interact with God, interact with the pure divinity? How does that interact and act as filters? How are we resting in memory and past and story? And how does that hold us back? And can we recognize that holding back is a karmic obscuration? It's an attachment to past. It's an attachment to concept, belief, and idea. It's an attachment to the karmic flow of cause and effect. And if we're moving in that dynamic, that paradigm, we will continue to flow in that paradigm, which loops and repeats and continues to perpetuate itself. So if we're holding patterns of lack, deficiency, scarcity, holding back, if we're holding back from God, then we will have the experience that God is holding back from us. If we're holding back from generosity and offering and devotion and sharing and giving, if we're holding back because we believe there's not enough, if we're holding back and we're not sincere in the ways that we move, and we're speaking here of presence, of attention, of love, of resources, multidimensionally all the way through our experience, if we're pinned in the past, if we're pinned in to a learned sense to withhold, then our lived experience will be that the divine is withholding from us, that we're not getting what we want. But the only reason we don't get what we're truly longing for is that somewhere in the pipeline, there's a blockage, right? So we're being invited to unblock the pipeline of flow. And the way that we unblock the pipeline, that has us living in a frequency of fear and past and old story, old belief, old concept. And we're talking ancestral, inherited, even genetic, where we're talking about all of the ways that we believe that we're part of something, a tribal consciousness, all of the ways that we believe, well, this is the way, this is what I learned. The invitation of the glory is to let go of all of that. And by letting go of all of that, we leave the past. And when we leave the past, we release ourselves from future. We immediately release ourselves from future. We release ourselves from the play of cause and effect. We release ourselves from being the cause of our own suffering. We release ourselves from being the cause of creating a future of more lack and more scarcity. We release ourselves from a future that is born out of the past and our beliefs. And how does that happen? It happens by pulling everything, all of the resources, all that we are, to the here now, and opening to the clear channel of the presence of being, and being absolutely open to receive the glory of God and the absolute love of God in your heart, to receive the forgiveness, to receive the love, is to receive the revelation that there is nothing wrong with you. There has never been anything wrong with you. There is not anything limiting you in your life except your own beliefs. There is nothing holding you back except your belief there is something holding you back. And so the invitation of this moment is to receive the glorious love of the great love, the one love, the perfect love. In this moment, it's to open the heart to receive the most incredible grace of God. To be wholehearted in this moment is to receive the whole heart of God, to receive the redemptive love of God. It's like all of these ideas that we used to maybe hear in church about salvation and redemption and mercy. But we're not speaking about a God that is punishing. We're not speaking about anything that is conceptual. We're speaking about a divine that is a light, a principle, a power, and a glory that is the pure illumination, the pure principle of illumination, an unmanifest, uncreated God. And the only creation of God is the child. The only creation of God, the only creation of God is the child. And that creation is the presence, the presence of being. And so to enter the presence is to enter the true frequency of love, of God, of the glory. To enter the true frequency is to enter the frequency of love. And the frequency of love is where we open to realize the reality of what love is. We enter the reality, the abundance, the prosperity, the flow, the glory, the all-encompassing revelation of what the true nature is. we allow the great humbling. And the great humbling, in a way, is not something that is imposed on us. It is only the love that is shining upon us and in us and as us. The humbling is when we face ourselves, when we face our misunderstanding, when we face our own misunderstanding and belief in separation, when we face all that we believe in ourselves to be wrong and lacking is not the reality. And sometimes it can be a bumpy ride to just face that there's no problem here, but the problems that I'm creating with my mind. There's no problem here, except the problem that I believe that I'm divided, that there's something wrong with me. And so we're being invited to recognize that every moment that we believe in lack or wrong is a moment of division. And every moment that we see that and we illuminate that, we allow the presence of light, of wholeness, of purity, abundance, and glory to touch that seeming belief and that frequency of fear and bring it into the all-inclusive, all-encompassing presence. It's as if we give our man-made, self-made, mind-made creation back to God. We give our creation of a life of separation back to the glory, and we just open to the presence of love, and we realize that reality is the kingdom of heaven in our own heart. It's about seeing life from a different perspective. It's about seeing life as life itself. It's about seeing life at the frequency of truth. It's about seeing life clearly, and that the seeing of life clearly is the seeing that there's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong, no one that is wrong. Not in the reality, not in the true perspective. It's seeing love as love. We could say in the undivided, love sees only love, but it's not love seeing another love. It's love seeing its own perfection, knowing its only perfection, and receiving its only perfection, because this is all there is. This is all there is. And this is the revelation, the mystical revelation, the divine revelation, and the invitation to know the heart of God as your own heart, to know the presence of being, your own presence of being as a wide open field of pure consciousness, which is we could say the pure consciousness is the Christ consciousness. It's the Buddha nature. It's like here we discover that it doesn't matter what tradition, what lineages, what teachings we have been called into and pulled by, that ultimately what we are being invited is to follow the aliveness of the heart and then to distill what brings us alive and discover the essence, discover the distilled essence at the root, the heart, and the absolute pure openness of every single lineage, teaching, tradition, even religion. What is the essence? We're being asked to boil it down within our nervous system, within our lived experience, boil it down, distill it right down to its absolute most potent essence, and discover here, it doesn't matter what name we give that, but that you are that. You are that. And the knowing of that wide open presence of being, the field of love, the Atman, the self, the glory, is what opens us to, it's like the portal to the source of the source. It's the portal to God, to the divine, to the Mother, Father, the glory, the light, right? And again, it doesn't matter what words, because all words are names of the nameless one. All words are just resonant frequencies. So whether we say God or Yahweh or Allah or Shiva or Ma or Ram, it does not matter what words we give. We're speaking of the one that is nameless, unfathomable, uncreated, unmanifest, ever glorious, all-encompassing. And then in our human lived experience, to know this and to live this revelation, to embody this revelation, is to open to the infinite, eternal presence of being. As we open to the infinite, eternal presence of being, we open to the field, we open to the way, the means that we have been given to remember what we belong to. And when we remember what we belong to, we're in the infinite, eternal, timeless, boundless presence of being. We remember that we're not divided, we're not separate or limited. There is no scarcity, lack, or deficiency. There is one wide open field of pure flowing abundance, and the heart knows this. And the knowing is the way. The knowing is the flow that flows us into the fullness of the revelation, that we have never been divided. And it's as if we are giving our human lived experience that has been lived in a belief in division, separation, individuality. It's that we've been given this experience so that we can know how precious, how profound the glory is, so that we can be celebratory and revelatory and joyous. And in that, in our human lived experience, we live through the sense of division in the way that we do, even though we're never divided, never divided. We live through what we live through to clear us and free us of our attachments and aversions that keep us in the karmic way, in the way of cause and effect, and return us, right? So the way of cause and effect, the karmic way, is the way of separation, the way of good and bad. And in a way, we're coming back to the remembrance of what is before that whole play. What is before? We're coming back to Eden, to heaven, to the Shambhala. We're coming back to that which is before any sense of division, before good and bad, before right and wrong. We're coming back to our remembrance of the eternal, infinite, true nature, the essence nature. And depending on which kind of teachings and lineages have been part of your unfolding, you start to recognize, oh, that it's true in that story, it's true in that story, it's true in that, it's true in that. You can see how essentially it's all one. And when we don't glob on and hold on to one way, one idea, we don't get stuck in the story of it. We don't get stuck in the worldly aspect and interpretation of it. That we're actually being invited to distill ourselves out of the idea of being divided. We're being invited to collapse the Triputi. We're being invited to collapse the idea of even the Holy Trinity into the remembrance of the One, right? And at the same time, in our human life, what remains is, we could say, the sense of being the point, being the point, being the child, being the instrument, but absolutely knowing in the one heart that there's an absolute oneness, an absolute oneness. This is where we speak of the love of God, that in the love of God we find a sense of that oneness, because we don't know if the love of God is our love of God or God's love of us. But we discover in the love of God that there is no us and that. There's only that. There's only the love. And the love of God is the love that is. It's the glory that is. It's what we are one with. It's as if the infinite and the point, of course, are one. The point is part of the infinite field. But we have a sense of our unique presence, our unique sense of being here. We can feel the undivided nature, and yet we feel the sense of the point. And we're supposed to feel the sense of the point. In a way, that's how we embody this great glorious grace, is that we remember the unbounded infinite nature. We leave the sense of division behind, and we open to the unbounded, infinite, limitless remembrance. And we can feel the field of consciousness, the unbounded field. We open to our multidimensional being. And yet, as a multidimensional being, we have this incredible possibility to open to the light, and to not just open and transcend into the light, but to bring the light back into our lived embodied experience, to be the light on the surface of life, to be the light. In a way, we are being invited through our lived experience to live the frequency of love, to live this revelation, to live the Satya Loka, the realm of truth, the absolute glory, the heaven on earth, the paradise, whatever words we want to bring to that we don't know what that is. We don't need to know. We cannot know by our faculty of mind. Not in limitation can we know that. We can only know it in the heart. And when we know it in the heart, we realize that we are the living revelation. We are the living answer to every prayer. We are the ones that we have been waiting for, right? All of these kind of expressions that we have heard start to sing and ring in the heart as the absolute truth. Oh, we are the ones. We are the children of God. We are the ones. We are the chosen ones, right? But we're not chosen as in special over other ones. It's that we are all that. We are all chosen. The whole of humanity is chosen. The whole of humanity is being invited into this incredible revelation. And yet the way that it is at the moment is that still the majority of the consciousness is a collective that is being held in discordance and corruption. But that's okay. What is so important is that we're not here to fix that. We're not here to fix that. That is a realm, it's a frequency where everyone living in that frequency has their own unique assignment to free themselves from that frequency. But it's, as we are multidimensional, we have the capacity to be in that, in a way, that realm at a different frequency, at a refined and refining frequency. And yet we have this capacity to actually be living at a different frequency. In a way, we've been speaking of this, it's about collaborating with nature by knowing our true nature. We collaborate with nature as nature. We embody our true nature, and we recognize that world, what we see as world, is a distorted view of our own mind. But the true view includes, in nature, in true nature, it includes Mother Nature, Earth Nature. It includes Earth. And what we are being invited into is a different, harmonic, symbiotic union, remembrance with Earth, with nature, to live and to actually be the embodiment of this frequency of love, of the glory, and to actually be the living manifest expression of heaven on earth. And it's not exactly, we have to say, what the New Age beings speak of. That's holding a frequency, an essence of it, but it's not the wholeness of it yet. So we're being invited to keep purifying and purifying out of our ideas. We're being invited to keep purifying and purifying out of all of the ways that we can try to conceptualize and but stay bound in a world, like trying to fix the world, trying to fix the world. It's not about fixing yourself, and it's not about fixing the world. It's about having the courage to live as a pioneering spirit of love, as a pioneering frequency of love, as a pioneering beacon of light. It's about actually being an emissary of light, about being a frequency. And it's not about proclaiming it in a way where the me takes hold of it and tries to draw attention to myself as being something special, or wanting to get validation or be seen. It's not about I have gifts to give. It's about companions, brothers, sisters of the light. We are the gift. We are the gift. Our frequency is the gift, right? This is what it is about. It's about being the light together. It's about not holding hierarchies and ideas of better or worse. It's a whole new paradigm that we're being asked to open to and to live, to pioneer this frequency field, and that we don't need to mentally know how or understand, because there's a natural way of integrating in life, and it's the integrated living that actually is the way. The integrated living is the way. The integrated living is in its ways of humbling and showing and revealing. It's really revealing everything as love, right? The unmasking isn't like unmasking like you're bad, you're going to be shown, you're going to be revealed as being bad, as being wrong, as having done something wrong. It's about everything being unmasked and revealed to be love, as to be light, everything. And so what we're speaking of is, are you willing? Are you willing? Are you courageous enough to accept the forgiveness in this moment? Are you willing and courageous enough to accept the love of God, of the divine, of the mother? Are you willing and courageous enough to let the, let's say, the restoration of the frequency of love be so complete in this moment that it blasts away all ideas of past and future and being bound in a story of limitation and lack and scarcity? Are you willing to just allow the love of God to enter your heart and blow your heart so wide open? This part requires an inner yes, an inner permission that says, yes, great glory. Yes, great glory. I am ready. I receive the forgiveness in this heart. I receive your love. I'm willing for the bounds of the sense of personal heart to be so blown wide open that the whole world falls in, and I realize the revelation that there is only one heart. There is no world that is divided, that the world, as I've been seeing it, was a mind of delusion and separation, that I realize that all that is true is your love. All that is true is your love. And I receive the absolute forgiveness, that the frequency of forgiveness is the frequency of just an absolute clean slate, an absolute wide open field of love. No past, no future, nothing to reference, nothing to plan for, just God's divine plan all the way through, multidimensionally, an open channel of the eternal light, right? This moment is the moment of revelation. This moment is the moment of revelation. Every moment that seems to be a moment in time is a moment of revelation. The revelation is ever fresh, it's ever true. And where you find yourself here now, boom, at the point, here now, at the sense of presence, you are ever present, you are omnipresent, you are omniscient, and you are omnipotent, right? We are the omnipotence of the glory of God. That frequency is right here as a light in every heart. Every heart can realize this. Does not matter whatever the life looks like. Every heart can receive the mystical revelation in any moment. This is not a progressive in the future revelation. The revelation is now. The revelation is now, right? The revelation is now. So in this moment, here now, just opening to that revelation, allowing that revelation to crack open and clear and flush out that attachment to past, that attachment to ancestral lines and genetic codes and all of the ideas of how these keep us bound, how they keep us bound in, oh, these are the ways that my ancestors did it. These are the ways. These are so built into me. Boom, let it go. Let it blow open in the frequency of love. All of the ways that we feel like I'm holding these kind of diseases and corrupt genes, and I could manifest these diseases because these were the diseases of that are in my familial line. These are the genetic corruptions. These are the things that I live in fear of. Boom! Let it just blast away and be cleared in the revelation in the heart. It's not so. It's not true. Anything can shift and change in this moment. It's just about not being bound by the idea that we are part of an order and structure of life and world and mind that is limited. Not so, not so, never been so, never been so. And so the revelation is this moment wide open, so wide open that your heart just knows. You don't have to worry about how am I going to live this? How am I going to carry this forward? There is no forward. There is no back. There's just this glorious moment. And the living of this is always now. And yet somehow in our human life, we're planted here in time and space, but we're not planted in a trajectory of past and future and the play of karma and cause and effect. We're planted here now. Boom. We're planted as ever-present being, ever-present heart of God, child of God. We're planted here now as the way showers. We're planted here now as the way. And when we open to the knowing that is the way, we open to the truth of the heart, and we open into the flow of life living itself. And we recognize that the flow of life is simple and abundant and is full of prosperity and plenitude and glory and light. It's simple and free and flowing. So in this moment, the frequency of love, of the light, just comes flushing in, and it's completely available. Receive it in the heart as deeply as it can be received. All it requires is your inner yes, your inner open receptivity, your inner permission, we could say. Yes, great glory, enter every cell and fiber and thread, atom, and whatever other part of me you can find multidimensionally. Enter all that I am multidimensionally and realign. Let your redemptive love and mercy touch every fiber of my being, and let every fiber of my being be renewed. Every cell of what I am made of be renewed in light, be renewed in the frequency of the divine pattern, the divine original wisdom light. Let me receive the revelation and know that the wisdom light is shining in every cell and fiber of my being as the knowing of what is true, what I belong to, and that life, the life that gives animation to this form, is life itself. And we could say that that life, that love, that child, that is the only creation. That is the only offering of the divine. The only thing that ever has been offered is the purity of life, of truth, of love, of light. And the child, in a way, the life, the child, being the child, the human life is the way. It is the way. This is how. This is how. The lived experience is how. But it's to allow the lived experience to be attuned with the light, to follow, in a way. The way is not to follow a meandering path through the mind, but to follow the way is to rest in your own presence of being, rest in the heart's knowing, and to follow the divine pattern into the refinement and refinement of the multidimensional realms of consciousness. And so this knowing dawns and refines and purifies the life in its own genius way. The intelligence itself refines and refines. And so we enter the field of grace. It's like we live in the field of grace. Mm-hmm. So as we open to this revelation, it's as if the soul that has been clouded, like a clouded windscreen that we've been seeing through filters of the mind, it's like the soul identified as a me. It's like a windscreen that has been clouded and muddied. It's like in the revelation, it gets sprayed and the windscreen wipers go on, and it just clears the sense of soul as being an individual identified sense of me and mind. It brings the remembrance that soul is universal. So it brings a remembrance that I'm not the person, I am the field. I am the universal field. That soul remembers its identity, we could say, with the wide open field, the field of grace, the field of light. And so then soul starts to shine its light. And this is how there's a sense of embodying the light. The soul is when it's being resourced from the source, it can be embodied, it can be carried to the surface of life, right? So this is like our multidimensional lived experience. The wide open field of grace, the field of being, is the pure consciousness and the source of our source, our essence nature. We could make that akin to spirit, in a way, essence. And in a way, the essence is, there's a source to the source. There's a source. And the source of the source is the one that knows the glory of God, the great light, the perfect love, Brahman or Para-Brahman. Mm-hmm. To allow the dawning revelation of the heart to infuse and saturate every cell and fiber of the being, to renew, refine, and recalibrate the nervous system, the discordant patterns of consciousness, and bring everything back to the divine original pattern. It brings us back to the original innocence on the level of our lived experience. And it brings a sense that we are one with the divine. We belong to the divine. There is only the divine. And as we refine, we open to different degrees of this knowing, different frequencies, subtler and finer frequencies of this knowing. And as we open to more and more refined frequencies, we can then bring that back through the nervous system, through shining as a radiant soul light that is in our uniqueness, shining the radiance of God through the heart, shining and bringing the embodiment of love as perfectly as we possibly can in our lived experience in at this frequency. But the new lived frequency is a frequency of the expression of love. And to live this love, to live as the expression of this frequency of love, without the frequency of fear, or in the refinement of the frequencies of fear, refining by being the illuminating light, being the presence of love within your own lived experience. And it starts within our own lived experience, because it's as if as we purify the vessel, the instrument, it's as if we move from being the child, receiving the revelation of being the child of God, to being the instrument of God. As we purify, that we realize that to be the instrument is to be the living revelation, and that we start to come into a sense of alignment with Dharma and flow when it's very smooth and obvious. There's no struggle in where the Dharmic flow starts to flow. It's just effortless, easy, that we're being moved in life in beautiful ways. And we're supposed to express on the surface of life in unique and beautiful ways. We're supposed to be singing our song and dancing our dance in all of the beautiful ways that we are naturally flowing to, and bringing this revelation, not necessarily by speaking the revelation, although some will speak the revelation. Some will silently be a living emanation of the revelation. But essentially it's all love, and it's about the unique flavors of love, right, that come in expression on the surface of life. It's as if we express what we are truly designed to express. We return to the divine pattern, to the divine design, before all of the corruption. And in this, there is a recalibration and a rejuvenation and restoration, even at the level, genetic levels, at the levels of we could say, like what we might think of as DNA programs within our lived expression. All of that can be completely refined and recalibrated. That's how the most incredible, profound healing can happen of absolutely anything that's expressing through the physicality. We have to be completely aligned with the glory all the way through, and not be seeking anything for the me, right? It's allowing, in a way, the frequency of forgiveness and love of the absolute divine to permeate and take everything, take everything, take everything. Yeah.